Andor. Now, give us your impression of Andor up to episode 10 so far.
First 3 episodes could have been cut in half and would have been more entertaining. I'm not going to deny that. But then it's just steadily grown and grown. And I did actually compare it into one of my previous episode reviews, that it's like a game of chess and you're getting all these pieces being moved into position before we get to the grand finale in 2 episodes' time. So I've enjoyed watching it. I've enjoyed watching the characters develop. You've been able to see Andor, his animosity towards the Empire obviously has grown and taken a darker turn. You've got characters like Mon Mothma, who's got this absolute life of privilege and luxury, who's now risking it all to build the rebellion, and you're seeing that starting to take the toll on her. She's now weighing up options, particularly with the potential of an arranged marriage with someone who can help with the finance side of things to his son. So you're seeing her weighing up sacrifices that she wouldn't have done before. Is it Stellan Skarsgård? I can never say his name. You saw in the last episode that everything that he sacrificed to get this rebellion going, to build a clear, happy future for people that won't even know he's existed if he's done his job right.
He plays Luthien Rael.
That's it. And then Andy Serkis, especially in the last episode, was just brilliant in every aspect. So I'm loving it, mate. And I've got to be honest, I was very critical when they announced this. So I was like, I don't need to see a prequel of a prequel for a character who was boring, blah, blah, blah. This is going to be shit and everything else. And then I watched it and I was like, holy shit, this is not what I was expecting. It's actually really interesting. And I know, obviously, there's not many laser fights and pew-pews.
Pew-pew, pew-pew, pew-pew.
I'm loving it, mate. I'm loving it. It's like a spy drama. And I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying it. I actually look forward to watching it in the morning. I take an hour off every Thursday morning and watch it before I do any work.
See, I'm not the complete opposite, and I think this is probably more of an overall problem that I have with a lot of stuff at the moment, that those first, I'm going to say, 3 episodes, 4 episodes, when Stellan Skarsgård turns up, Luthien turns up, it got more interesting. But I mean, so far we're on episode 10, so it's been on for half an hour each, 5 hours. There is a lot of this that could have been cut down. And so now, as a character, I didn't find Cassian Andor a particularly interesting character anyway. He was a sidekick to Jyn Erso in Rogue One. And I mean, he was all right and everything else, but there was nothing, if he hadn't made a series about him, he would have been instantly forgettable.
Yeah,
and yet in this series, I've not clicked or gelled with it at all. And it is getting more interesting now. The last couple of episodes have been pretty good, but overall, I think this is it's dull as dishwater. In general, I've really not. I'll watch it because I know we're gonna talk about it or do reviews or whatever. I'll watch it, but I sit there and sort of get through it. I mean, this episode, for me, because it's taken so long to get into the meat and nitty gritty of it, it's kind of, I'm just not invested in the character.
Right. Okay. Well, I can understand that. Like I said, I wasn't interested in Andor at all. I thought the whole thing was a bit of a joke when they announced the series, but I am loving it. You did comment at the fact that he's not sort of the star of his own show. That's fine. I think we've got 2 more episodes to go, and I think they're going to lead us to a point where we're going to be like, so I think something's going to happen that makes him this animosity is built up over the last 10 episodes. I think the final 2 is going to build into a pure hatred that we get in Rogue.
Bloody hell.
Hey, bitches.
Look who it is
in the house. Hello, mate.
I thought you was on holiday. Oh, sorry.
I just drove in from Florida, also known as DeSantis land.
He's basically, I can imagine he's driven at like 200 miles an hour just to get in, just to get
here, babies.
Yeah, just to sort of say, no, Andor, no, Phil's wrong.
That's what they call Disney World now, DeSantis land. He took it over. Was the happiest place on earth. Now it's where woke goes to die.
Okay,
How are you? You refreshed,
yeah.
recharged?
I am
Have you had a
awesome.
nice holiday?
I saw all the attractions down there. I love Trans Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 woman leaves. It was great. So
That's a cracker.
he's got it going on, baby.
we've
So what
been
are we
talking-
talking
Good to
about?
see you, mate. Good to see you.
I heard
talking
you
about-
talking about Black Panther, and you guys were all wearing white hoods the whole time, which I thought was a little on the nose, but that's okay.
It was a pillowcase because I'm cold. I just cut eye holes in it. That's all.
Is that what it is? Okay.
We have got a comment here again from Brainbuck. Andor, I am honestly piss bored with this. Right, with this. It's well made, but it ain't fun. Where are the aliens? Space battles. Exactly. Where are the lightsabers? That's the thing I'm missing. I need lightsabers and guns. And that they had guns in the last episode, but that's what I've been missing. Yoda, have you seen the latest Andor?
I haven't seen the latest one. I need to catch up because I just got in from driving, I don't know, 8 million miles, it feels like. But so I'm of 2 minds of Andor in general. If this was not a Star Wars property, I would say it's a well put together sci-fi slow burn show. And
I kind of
like
agree
it.
with that. I kind of agree with that. That if this didn't have Star Wars written on it, I probably would be enjoying it more.
But since you go in with the Star Wars mindset, which is fun space adventure show, and there's such a tonal difference with Andor as compared to the rest of Star Wars. Even things like The Mandalorian or Boba Fett or all of it that's been put out, it still is within that Overton window of where you expect Star Wars to be. And Andor is definitely outside of that. When we're just talking tonally. Now, is that the worst thing in the world? I mean, you'd say, well, I want lightsabers and stuff. It's like, okay, yeah. Boba Fett did all that. It sucked. Obi-Wan did all that. It's not good at all.
True. Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
it's like it needs to be shaken up, in my opinion. If you want Star Wars to continue, it needs to be shaken up. And this is a competent, well put together show. Its biggest problem is it doesn't feel at all like Star Wars.
It's funny you say that because I mean, my thought was, I said this to somebody the other day. My thought is that I want Disney to lose Star Wars and it just to go into the hands of somebody competent. That's kind of all I want. And if that happens, happy days. But I just don't see it at the moment. Even though the shares are falling for Disney at the moment, I still don't see it happening for many years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of. I think there is an argument to be made, like if you're going to change, or if you're going to set a story in the universe that changes everything so drastically, is it that thing anymore? You know? It's like, if Lord of the Rings was done like a French farce, would that be Lord of the Rings anymore? Probably not.
Well, we've just seen what's happened with that.
No, that's just boring. Bored of the Rings.
I don't think Andor's changing Star Wars. I think it's giving us the story of why Star Wars became Star Wars.
Well, I mean, I think plot-wise and canon-wise, I don't think it really breaks anything or anything like that. I'm just talking from a tonal and atmospheric feel.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point is it no longer that thing, right? Like if Indiana Jones became a spy thriller, and I don't mean like James Bond, I mean like Tinker Tailor, where there was almost no punching in it and a lot of paperwork being shuffled back and forth, right? I mean, would that be just because Indiana Jones is in it? It's a very different story, and maybe it's done very well. Is that still an Indiana Jones movie?
James Bond does paperwork, and then he shot at me, so I shot back at him.
Well, yeah, I mean, seriously, right? What if Fast and the Furious, they didn't actually drive any cars in it, but they still told an awesome story. Like they did it like My Dinner with Andre, My Dinner with Vin Diesel or whatever his name is. It's like, okay, yeah, here's Toretto's telling all of his stuff that he's done, and he's being jerky to some young guy that's coming in, and the guy's trying to write it all down. But there's not one car chase in Fast and the Furious. But it's like, wow, this is a really good movie. I really enjoy this little story. It's like, yeah, but is that Fast and the Furious anymore?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. If you're asking me, is this a Star War? I don't know.
Is
I
this a
honestly
Star
cannot
War?
answer. Yeah, I can't answer that question. Is it a good show, a good science fiction show, well done, well told? I am interested in watching it. Yes.
So do you think they've gone too far into one direction as a way? Because for me, not so much Mandalorian, because Mandalorian was brilliant, but Book of Boba Fett and the Obi-Wan had become cartoon versions of what Star Wars was. Do you think this has gone too far in the opposite direction for you?
That is actually a good way of putting it, Matt. That I would agree with that. That you've had all the laser swords and space battles and everything else, and now you're going to this kind of other side of this secret underworld and everything else. And yeah, for me, tonally, it's too much of a shift. You know, if you had like a Jedi in there somewhere, it might have actually just sort of, oh right, okay, there's a Jedi, you know, type of thing. But they've kind of gone from one side of space to like completely the other side. That's a fair way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, even Empire Strikes Back, as dark as it got, I mean, the original trilogy never strayed away from kind of bright, adventurous, optimistic storytelling. And you got to admit, Andor is bleak. I mean, the color grading is bleak. It is a dismal, depressing show. Now, I don't find that to be a bad thing in many Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, you know, a Jason Bourne series, things like that. I mean, that's not a bad thing. You could tell great stories, and I think this is telling a great story. It's just really confusing because but this is Star Wars. Is this? That's my question to the audience. Is this still a Star Wars? Even though canon-wise and all the characters, it's set in the universe and everything, is this still Star Wars or is this something else? And if you can accept it as something else, then fine, you get your enjoyment out of it. And if you can't accept it as something else, if you feel like it's too different, I don't think that's a wrong way of looking at it. I really don't, because I could see where people would be put off by it.
Fair enough. Somebody had to go at me because I said it wasn't particularly well made, and it is. I didn't say that. I just said that I said that it is just boring. It's the problem. Like I say, we've had 5 hours of this series, and just like I say, it was the same with Obi-Wan. There was a guy online called Kai Patterson who edited down Obi-Wan to a 2.5-hour movie, which was great. It really worked. If he does the same thing with Andor and just chops it down into like a 2.5-hour movie, I think it could be brilliant. And he could just cut out a lot of the faff.
See, I'm liking the fact that we're beginning to find out why there was a rebellion, because we've seen obviously the universe with the prequels of how the universe was under kind of Jedi rule and everything else, and then we saw the downfall, and then obviously we see Star Wars with Luke in the first Star Wars, which some people call A New Hope. But the rebellion is already established and the Empire are already established. But we've never really seen the story of what made people rise up against the Empire. And this is why I'm enjoying it, because you're beginning to see what turned everyday people, what turned normal people that were just living their day to go, enough is enough. What is making these people sacrifice everything to do this? And I'm loving it.
I'm coming back to that point. Brainbug said it's something I'll never rewatch. If Kai Patterson does a copy online, it's worth watching his edits because he is great. Do a search for him, Kai Patterson. But what were you saying, Eggy? Sorry, completely lost my point. What
I was saying it's nice to see.
I dozed off too.
Why the rebellion was right.
Oh, you say that though, but then the presence of Darth Vader in the first Star Wars, he comes through that door with that music. He's obviously evil. Why would people not be fighting against this evil empire? You know, I don't need to
They
be
are.
told.
This is what we're seeing.
No, but
This
that's
now. We're seeing why, and
but I,
it's going to lead us to why a young farm boy like Luke Skywalker wants to join the rebellion. We only see him saying he wants to join, but we don't see why he. We see obviously Darth Vader and the Empire and everything else, but we've not seen what turns normal guys like us into fighting this regime. What is it that the Empire did to make people go enough is
it better
enough?
be pretty good in the last couple of episodes.
Well,
It's
let's
so
take
far.
let's take what you're saying there, Phil. The original Star Wars is very archetypal. It's very mythological. It's not the most complex story. It's not simple, but it's a pretty straightforward story. Evil versus good, and that was what it was. Now, would you guys agree that the complaint has been that they need to get out of the Skywalker saga? They need to do different things in Star Wars. You can't just have people smacking lightsabers on each other all the time and doing all the same stuff. Star Wars is limited by its own universe and the way the tone was set up. So so now they're doing something different. I think we can all agree this is very different than anything we've seen in Star Wars. The question is, can this universe, can it handle something? Can you expand it and give it texture and deepen it like that without taking away from the original movies? And will people accept this? Because if they don't, then Star Wars can never grow outside of what it's always been. We will never get anything like the original trilogy because that is just such lightning in a bottle. I know it's one of your guys' favorite phrase, but that's what it is. And to try to replicate that is just you're chasing wind.
Conversely,
it just can't happen.
Conversely, though, I would say to you that Mando did. I know Mando brought Luke back at the end, and obviously Boba Fett as well, like previous characters. But it didn't focus on the Skywalker saga. It was still Star Wars, but with a new-ish a brand new character. Mandalorian had never been seen before. Like I say, I know they brought in back some old favorites and stuff, but I think Mando absolutely nailed it because it was Star Wars in that universe, but it wasn't about the Skywalker saga.
I'd agree, and I certainly think there's been some good stuff in the Clone Wars and some of the animated stuff that Filoni has done. But Boba Fett, and when they're mining from the original trilogy, I think is when things start falling apart. I mean, the sequel trilogy is not good, obviously.
I did watch the Obi-Wan edit, and it was way better. Boba Fett was more like a spoof of Star Wars. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And even the prequels weren't good. So, I mean, the only things that have been good have been things that have been almost completely divorced from the saga.
Again, funnily enough, you say that. One of the things that I have loved was Visions, where the Japanese studios took their own versions of Star Wars, and there were some in there which were fantastic, and they were only 20 minutes each, but to me they told a story in 20 minutes way much better than the whole of Andor has.
Well, those are also more like Simpsons Halloween specials. They're not really.
Oh yeah.
Unless you can cut a Star Destroyer in half while standing on the nose of an X-wing in space without a helmet, with a lightsaber that goes 70 AUs in length or something. I don't know. It's just insanity. But so much sake that day when they were making that one.
And then what happens?
But I mean, this is something that's very different, and I respect people who say, but this doesn't feel like Star Wars, because you're right, it doesn't. But I also feel like, but it's good in its own right, and if we really do want more stories in the Star Wars universe, I think we have to try different things, even if. I guess time will judge the success of this show.
This is true. We are talking about it with 2 episodes left to go, so fair enough. Coming back to Matt's point earlier about the evilness of the Empire, I'm not seeing any of that in this show. At the moment, the
No?
Empire is a bunch of bureaucrats who are just sort of like,
Yeah.
oh, have you filled out the paperwork for this? Not yet, sir, but I will see. And it's just, I don't.
And that's how
see
it would
them-
happen, though. That's exactly how.
I
it
mean,
would happen.
we're literally living in that times now, mate.
Yeah. Well,
No. But what I'm
We are
saying
we're
is, you know,
they're strangling people's income and their wealth. The governments
yeah,
are corrupt on Coruscant. They're absolutely corrupt. The people are living, like Mon Mothma and all the people surrounding her, have been given a life of such luxury and privilege that they don't want to fight the system. They want to keep it going. But at the same time,
fair
to do
enough.
this, they're having to oppress everyone else. I mean, it's literally like real life. So you can understand why it's happening.
I do get what you're saying, but again, to me, the Empire was always kind of Vader and the Emperor. And those army drones that would just go in and kill everybody and whatever.
But we're getting there.
We
We're
haven't
getting
got like
there
a
with
Darth
Andor.
Vader in real life.
No.
well, okay. Let me see if I can advocate for Phil here. I think what you're saying is, yeah, that is very much like real life. I don't watch Star Wars for real life. I watch it for escapist entertainment.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. Like I say, when you watch Star Wars, like I say, there is no Darth Vader in real life. There's no evil character who goes around strangling people and cutting them in half with a lightsaber and stuff. And so, yeah, you watch Star Wars for escapism. I don't want it, if it's going to be kind of based in reality. That, funny enough, the sequel trilogy was based in reality, and so we had to have Luke killed off and Rey take his place. Brilliant. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see this modern take on Star Wars. I just want it to be guns and shootings.
I will say this: I don't think you're going to see any Andor T-shirts like this. It's,
No, I don't think you are.
It's be like having a Sophie's Choice T-shirt. It's like
I'm gonna find an Andor T-shirt and wear it next week.
There
But
probably
just make
is one.
one.
What am I saying? Of course, there's one.
I can understand what you're saying. Darth Vader and but the story's been told to death, and we're sick of them.
Honestly, this is
the
the thing I
Skywalkers-
can see
Everyone
both
just
sides.
sick of it. I think this is refreshing. I like it, and I think it's so divided because if you look at the comment section on the website, you've got people even like Brainbug. It's boring, and yourself it's boring. I'm not watching it. But then you've got people like me and Stark who are just loving every minute.
It's
Very,
weird.
very divided.
Again, it's kind of when Star Wars came out, there's very few people that you say Star Wars to that sort of go, oh, I didn't really like it. When Star Wars came out, it was kind of just universally loved. And I think this is the problem kind of again with modern world, that we live in a world where, like with Black Panther, you either get people absolutely loving it or absolutely hating it. And there's just no sort of middle ground with these things anymore. It's just, maybe it's just social media is.
Yeah, but I think the people that are loving Black Panther over the top loving it are doing it for political reasons rather than entertainment reasons. In fact, if you look at the article Stark wrote today about the great debate, what was your first film that made you fall in love with Star Wars? I think there was something like 70-80% of the comments were Star Wars.
No. What movie made you fall in love with cinema? And like you say, most of them were Star Wars.
Pretty much.
You said what made you fall in love with Star Wars?
Oh, is that what I said?
Star Wars made me fall in love with Star Wars. I watched it and I really fell in love with it. I watched Star Wars and really loved Macbeth.
Star Wars made me fall in love with movies. Princess Leia's bikini made me fall in love with Star Wars. I love Star Wars a long time.
I like Star Wars. I love Return of the Jedi. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. In the last couple of weeks.
What are you doing in there? I'm watching Jedi. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Go away, Mum.
Why is your
In the
lightsaber on again?
bathroom? Shut up.
There's a great quote by in the IT crowd, Richard Iowadi, and he was doing a dating video, and he sort of said he was doing it in the bathroom, and he's going, "Mom, leave me alone. You're making it go back in." It's going to be interesting to see because they've already planned a second series, so I think there will be an ending. But I kind of don't think now it's going to be as big as ending as what we think, because I think it's going to be left on a cliffhanger, and then they're going to go into a second series. But at some point, they're going to have to stop. They're going to have to stop at some point because it gets to Rogue One.
Yeah.
In Andor this week.
Yeah, second season, we just see a couple of dust clouds just floating there for about an hour.
I think it will end on a. I'm hoping they don't. I'm hoping they don't fall in the trap, but I do have a fear that they're going to end it on a big cameo like they did with Mando and Luke to lead you into season 2. I'm hoping they don't. But
what if they bring in like a young emperor or something?
Too. I don't think we'll see Mando. Or remember, this takes place before.
No. Sorry, you won't see him. I'm saying I think it will. Where Mando introduced Luke at the end of season 2.
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping Andor don't. Their last season, the last episode of the first season ends with the introduction of Darth Vader turning up on wherever the fuck they are. That planet they're from.
Yeah, I mean, I think
what you mean. Yeah.
I think it's like, okay, if you really want to see how the Empire could have gone from the Republic to the Empire, because the Senate, we see the Senate still doing its thing. We know the Senate got dissolved like in Star Wars in A New Hope, off screen. I mean, at that time it was just a throwaway line, but it's obviously we could see them still trying to do things. We could see the encroachment of the Emperor and the banality of evil and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I guess I'm at a point in my life I just find this interesting. I mean, you take your 5-year-old to see Star Wars. You take your 5-year-old to watch Andor. He'll be squirming. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But again, I think Stark said it's Star Wars for grown-ups, and that's not a diss that people that don't like it. I think it's just the fact that when
you're a stinky poo
head. But when we saw Star Wars, we was all probably 5, 6, maybe 10. Now, we're now, some of us are pushing on 50 now. So maybe it is time. Maybe it is time for a change. Maybe it is a Star Wars for our generation. I don't know. After Obi-Wan Kenobi, after Boba Fett, I just felt so demoralised watching them. They'd become a parody. Star Wars had become nothing more than just a glorified cartoon. I was sick to death of seeing the same characters or learning about backstories of characters I had no interest in knowing. Boba Fett again, best known as
funny enough,
Solo, not knowing anything about him.
Solo was the same thing that we had Solo, who you got Han Solo, like the coolest character ever. You didn't need to see a backstory to him. It was just a cash grab, and it was.
Well, it wasn't. Like, a backstory is one thing. Do I have to know the little tiny details of how he got his gun or how Chewie got his nickname? I mean, that's.
Or even how Han got his name.
Oh yeah, again, it's just sort of like some random bloke gave it to him. And again, it's just one of those things that you don't really need to see. And I think, again, one of the comments that keeps coming up on the website, lastmovieoutpost.com, movie news, reviews and everything all about film, is, so I'll be getting that in, I've been very good. But one of the comments that keeps coming up is the whole thing with prequels, that we don't need to see prequels. They don't need to be done. Rings of Power is a sequel. All the Star Wars stuff that they've done so far, apart from Mando, even Mando is kind of a prequel because Luke does turn up. And again, it's just find something new. But they're just too scared to sort of say, "Oh, right, here's a new property. Let's do something with this."
Yeah.
No, I mean, I will say for this, Matt, that I am enjoying it as a slow burn, but that doesn't mean that I don't think it has some pacing problems.
I agree.
I think they could cut some of this down a little bit. 10 episodes would have been enough. I still don't understand. Like, he does his thing with the heist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he leaves. And he wants to get his mom, pseudo mom figure, to take her away. And she didn't want to go. And she wants to fight the Empire. Okay, I get all that. Then, like, in the very next scene, he's at a hotel with some chick. And why is he there? What happened? And then he's just walking, and then they think he's with these people, which I don't know if he is or not. I don't think so. And then he gets picked up, and he's put in jail. And it was like there was no thought put into this. We got to get him to the jail.
The bit
I get it.
That's still the bit that gets me. It's like, oh, you were walking down the street, 6 years. What?
But
was it? You're missing the point. Is that what it was? 6 years later?
Well, no,
No, he's been sentenced
He
to 6 years.
he got
sentenced
walked,
to 6 years,
yeah,
okay.
he got caught walking down the street and then was arrested and then sentenced to 6 years in jail.
But you see,
And
I
you
think
are
you're missing
thinking,
the
what's
point,
happened with the
Max.
woman and all the money that he's got hidden in the shower?
But that's where you're missing the point, because he wasn't interested in joining a rebellion. He was in it for himself. Then he suddenly got all this money, and he's willing to turn his back on his adopted mother and just go and live on some luxury planet with his money and slags and everything else.
Is that what he's doing? Because I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah, that's
I
what he's
wasn't
doing. So
clear.
basically,
Like, why is he on this planet? Because he wants to waste money? Because all we see him is at a hotel. For all I
No, 'cause
know,
he
they're
thinks he's
using the
out.
money to try to find his sister, and this is a girl he thinks that can get him there.
he thinks he's
They're
out.
not clear on why he's on this planet. They're not clear about that at all.
no,
I'm not. I'm not
convinced.
convinced that he's there just to party. I don't believe.
You're telling a backstory of somebody, like you say, you've got to kind of explain the details, which, like,
and not how he got his last name. Like, why is he here on this planet?
Yeah.
Well, he's there with his money, having a little bit of time, because he's all about selfishness. I know he's still
I don't
looking
think
for his sister.
Yeah,
But-
I don't
and
get
then-
that he's just partying though. I get that he's
No, he's not partying. He's escaped. He could have escaped anywhere, but they're showing you that he's not interested in joining the rebellion. He just wants his sister, and if he's got to go in hiding somewhere, he's going to go and pick a nice place to do it because he's got all this money to deal with.
Well, if
And
you're
then
going to go
the
into
whole point of
hiding,
him
then
being-
don't go someplace where it's swarming with Imperials. Then I'm sure he could have found a couple other
Yeah.
planets.
But then I
Yeah.
think that again, that was just down to his naivety about the fact that there is no cause, there's no need for him to fight because
but that's
it
my
doesn't
point,
affect him.
That is not at all clear in the narrative. I think you're inferring a lot of things there. I have
Yeah, I
no
think it's
idea why
obvious
he's
to
on
me.
that planet, why he's there. I feel like it was just to get him to the prison so they can have that, because it's obviously broken up into like right now we have the first story, which was him on the planet trying to escape and then getting recruited. The second one was all about the heist, and now the third story is all about in prison, and then the fourth story will be after the prison. Fine. I mean, I get that you're doing three or four little mini stories here, but you got to do the setups a little bit better, and that wasn't done very well at all, in my opinion.
It's going to be interesting
I
to
found
see
it
how it
fine.
ends. Yeah, but no offense, but you gloss over the plot holes in Man of Steel, so you know.
Mate, behave. He always comes back to Man of Steel. You've got to
That's like coming back to Hitler in an argument.
You've got to realise why Andor has just gone from someone who's looking out for himself to suddenly being very passionate about fighting the Empire, and they're telling that story.
It's like Godwin's Law. We're going to go to Siegel's Law. We're going to rip on Man of Steel every time you have a bad opinion. Siegel's
Every
Law,
time.
baby.
Every time.
Oh, gone.
I don't want to. I mean, I'm nitpicking a little bit. There's just some pacing
too.
issues, and there's some things where I feel like they're not as clear as they could be about why some things are happening. I thought the heist was really well done. I like that part of it. I thought the beginning part was a little okay. I guess he's trying to sell a ship, but he had murdered these two guys, so he's on the run, but I don't even know if he knows that he's on the run, or if they're looking for him for that, or if he's trying to get some money to get off world, and then he gets approached. Then it all kind of came together fairly well for him to get off the planet and start doing the heist and all the stuff that happened on the planet. And then you've got this whole other guy that's like, he's like Gerard, or who's the guy in Les Miserables, that the guy that keeps looking for the guy that stole the bread.
Oh yeah, I know who you mean.
Yeah, he's kind of got that Gerard in The Fugitive. The guy that's constantly trying to find Andor. He's just all about it. So I that character is interesting. I want to see where that goes. I like the lady who is figuring out all this shit, and nobody will listen to her until they finally start listening to her. But I mean, it's like, I think at one point, there was an article I read that says, that people are kind of rooting for her because nobody will listen to the woman. And she's like,
Yeah.
what the actress I thought was pretty basic. She's like, no, don't root for her. She's a fascist. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
She's becoming a successful fascist. Don't root for her. I'm glad you love the character, but don't root for her. Okay?
Yeah.
She's like,
I
oh,
like
oh,
her. I love a good fascist, me.
It'd be like I found myself rooting for Hitler, and the actor's like going, no.
That artist from Austria is doing really well. I like
really
him.
well.
Don't you see the beautiful irony that people are rooting for her, though, even though she's a fascist, just because they've been programmed that you've got to root for the woman regardless of whatever.
Yeah.
And they're totally
And the
oblivious
truth
to the
is,
fact that actually they're rooting for fascism. It's fucking
They're rooting
beautiful.
for fascism, yeah. And the funny thing is that it doesn't really come across as a sexist thing at all to me. It comes across like a younger up-and-comer who's overstepping her bounds a little bit, but then the guy that the Gerard character, he ends up in this, this bureaucratic cubicle, and he's doing the same thing. So it's like, to me, that's all about trying to have some semblance of original thought or ideas or initiative in this. That's a different kind of oppression, but it's an oppression nonetheless. Like, you have to fight just to get anything done, or to have, an original thought, or to be able to take something to its logical conclusion to solve a problem without there being 8 million forms and some power-hungry bureaucrat just knocking you down so you don't take his turf. That kind of stuff I kind of find really intriguing. Again, I get it where you're coming from, but that's not Star Wars. That's like all the president's men or something. I don't know.
The scene where he goes to take his seat in the what you call it, in the cubicle thing. I was like, really?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's just like, great, he's going to do some paperwork. Okay, everybody.
It's like, when did this become Brazil?
Okie doke. Right, guys, we're going to wrap it up a little bit early. I know Yoda has only just joined us and everything else, but we're going to wrap it up a little bit early. So, Yoda, do you want to close us out?
No, I'm too tired. Okay. You go ahead and close that, because I came in out of the. But I'm glad I was able to step in for a second, because I just wanted to.
So, basically,
say
you can
hi.
find all three of us on Twitter now. You can go to the Movie Outpost to find all your movie news, reviews, and everything cool about film. But I'm at Boba Phil. He is at Drunken Yoda 1, and Matt Eggy Wegs is now on Twitter. For how long, we don't know, because he is trying to get himself banned.
I'm not trying to get myself banned. I'm being very
You're just being honest.
disciplined on it.
If he opens it up, I'm getting myself a blue check mark. If he opens it up again, I missed it. I should
For
get myself
$8 is great. Yeah,
$8. I'm gonna buy it because I guess what happens is that you end up, like, if you have a blue check mark, then there's like another tab where you can see chatter or mentions from blue check marks, not just the hoi polloi, which is really pissing off the hoi polloi. Because
if you want to see it, it's only $8. It's only $8.
It's like, who are all these? Like, AOC is like, who are all these people in my Twitter? It's like, they're your constituents.
Well, I've only been back for 3 days. Have I been back on it after about a 5-year hiatus? But it was just too much of an opportunity to watch them all have a meltdown. So I'm back on. I am trying to. I keep my other side of myself on Getter and Gab, but my movie stuff is on Twitter, so I should be on there for a little while at least anyway.
We're also on Facebook at Last Movie Outpost and Instagram Last
For
Movie Outpost
some
as
reason.
well. The Instagram's going quite well. I'll tell you what was very funny was on the Instagram, just to show you this, was I put up a picture of Anna de Artemis talking about the ballerina. Now, the previous post, which had a picture of the whale, got 8 likes. Anna de Artemis, 43. Shallow people love our stuff like that.
And I gave you 41 of those likes, I think.
Well, that will teach you to hold your phone whilst you were doing what you were doing.
Yeah. Kept hitting the mouse button. Oh, shit, it's in the way.
But yeah, like I say, we're on Instagram as well. So you can find us on all kinds of social media. But in the meantime, go to thelastmovieoutpost.com for all of your movie news, reviews, and everything cool about film. We try to put up articles every single day, tidbits here and there, bits and pieces, reviews and everything. You won't be disappointed. If you like movies, you'll love the site. So, in the meantime, any last words?
Except when
from
I
you,
go on
Yoda?
vacation, the entire site explodes.
Yeah, literally
Yeah.
broke down. Literally the day you went, didn't it? Any last words from you, Yoda?
Nope. Look, I will try. I'm trying to decide whether to go see Wakanda or Avatar 2. I probably should see one of them
Avatar.
just so we have something to talk about. But
Oh,
I'm
go and
not
see
looking
Black
forward
Panther.
to either one of them.
Go see Black Panther. I could do with a laugh.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I have heard about Black Panther. I heard you guys talking about it. From what I understand, metaphorically, this is 3 hours of black people calling Hispanics wetbacks. Metaphorically speaking. Apparently, it's very racist against Mexicans. I don't know why.
There you go then. Any last words from you, Matt?
If you like Anna de Armas, I'm going to do an article tomorrow about Sydney Sweeney, who constantly gets her tits out and is in sex scenes, and is now apparently upset that her family
She's
can
been
see
in-
these scenes on Twitter and Facebook.
She constantly gets her breasts out and has sex scenes, and she's annoyed at the fact that she constantly gets her breasts out and has sex scenes.
Yes. So I will be doing an article tomorrow and using it as an excuse to find lots of pictures of Sydney Sweeney with her tits out.
Okay, we don't know what we're talking about next week, but come back and join
Sydney
us.
Sweeney's
Thank you.
tits.
I'm looking forward to the way you censor that stuff. Like little
Usually, I usually put little pictures of our faces over them.
yeah, I was gonna say, just kind of face it.
I'll do that.
But we're not sure what we'll be talking about next week. But please come back and join us. Thank you for the chats today; it's been most appreciated. And in the meantime, enjoy movies and visit thelastmovieoutpost.com. Take care, everyone. That was an excerpt from the Outpost Frequencies, brought to you by thelastmovieoutpost.com. We hold a live stream every Sunday at 12 p.m. on Central Time and 6 p.m. UK time. You're welcome to join us. In the meantime, make sure you visit thelastmovieoutpost.com for all of your movie news, reviews, and everything cool about film. So cheesy.